Well, we're excited to be here today, and thank everyone for coming, and more importantly, thank you all for your participation over the last 2 years. It's been an exciting journey. I think when we started out, I don't think we really anticipated the work and the engagement and what it might look like. We started with the idea that we want to see more REITs in the market, and we said, okay, well, how can we do that? We have to make it a bit easier and more efficient. I'll kind of talk a bit about the journey, but also sort of like the justification or the value proposition for REITs. And it really starts with the urbanization of Kenya and frankly, actually even the continent. And we realized that over the next 25 years, we're going to see more than a doubling of the urban population. So we're going from over 18 million people right now in cities to over 44 million people. And the big question is, well, how are we going to house and how are we going to build the real estate and how are we going to fund the real estate development? If you look at potential projections of what is required in terms of real estate, we're talking about over 7 million new homes. We're talking about 4,000 new office buildings, 10,000 new industrial buildings, very many hospitals and schools. And so the question becomes, how have we been funding this real estate so far? A lot of the finance has been driven either by private capital or also by bank finance. And we have not really leveraged the power and the availability of capital in the capital markets. And a product like REITs is really can really help bridge that gap. It can bring in long-term institutional capital into the sector. And that's kind of what we need for the sector. And so for us, we said, well, why don't we really try to promote REITs? And I kind of also was working from a first person's perspective. You'll see me on the stage later on because we have our own REIT as well. And we said, well, how do we make that journey easier for all of us, including ourselves? When we think of the REIT product, and you have to excuse some of this data is a little bit old, we produced this before, but when you looked at the volatility of treasuries and other instruments and even the currency here, we thought that this REITs has a very good potential because they're mark to market. It's publicly traded instrument, so it's liquid, it is tax efficient, it is an asset-backed security. So we believe actually that REITs can have a similar rating as sovereign or even better in some cases. So we thought that REITs is a very good product to attract in long-term capital. But when we looked at the launch of REITs and we looked at how the journey is and how expensive it is for other issuers, we realized there was a number of challenges. One, with the limited number of REITs in the sector, we realized that not that many experts were familiar with the journey of how to bring REITs to the market. We realized that maybe that's an area where we can kind of help build capacity. We also realized the lengthy time it took to bring a REIT to market. That really can deter REITs coming to market. Like we were familiar with a number of REITs that had expressed interest, but they haven't really made it to market. And in some cases have taken more than 1 or 2 or 3 years to try to come to market. And then lastly, we looked at the high cost of the registration, and we said, well, how can we really reduce the cost of the registration? And to give you an example, the first REIT that launched, I think the cost to set up the REIT was something like 300 million shillings. And the value of the issuance or the assets that were acquired was 3 billion. So 10% of the cost just went into the setup. That was, it's not a very sustainable approach to bringing products to market. So we said, why don't we create a method or tools and resources and a program that could help to really expedite this entire process? So that's where the idea of the REIT Toolkit and Incubator came in. There's sort of like 2 elements to it. The toolkit really is a set of resources and tools that are really meant to facilitate the documentation process and bringing to market. And then the incubation process is really a hands-on process, helping the issuer kind of walk the journey. And when we looked at the REIT sector growth, because similarly we said, okay, well, what is the capacity or potential of the REIT sector? So we looked at, okay, general metrics, and the economist in the room will understand when we look at other metrics in other countries, we saw that the REIT market capitalization to GDP was something like 8%. We applied that to Kenya and we projected it out, and we said that REITs in Kenya can grow to being over 2 trillion shillings. I think we had projected around 1.7. And we said, okay, well, for us to get there, what do we need to do? We need to see more REITs in the market. I think when we started this program, There was only Fahari, and Acorn was just starting to come to market. And so we realized that, wait a minute, we needed to sort of really bring more REITs to the market. And then after that, then we recognized that there would be a growth of those REITs. And so this first phase in our sector strategy was incubation. And this is where it really dovetails into this program, saying, hey, we need to bring more REITs to market. Then over time, those REITs will then grow in size. So that's kind of how this plugged in. There's a tremendous impact that REITs have, and generally real estate have. So you heard from my colleague Anne Mishiri. We sit on the board together at the Kenya Property Developers Association. And there we recognize that there's a lot of impact. There's urbanization impact. So if we think about people living in informal settlements or in neighborhoods that don't have appropriate infrastructure, that is a huge impact that the real estate sector has on the economy and also in impacting people's lives on a day-to-day basis. We think about the number of jobs that are created. Currently, the real estate and construction sector contributes approximately 10% to GDP. And is in developing countries a large employer of a growing working class, and so we recognize that there's a big potential there. And lastly, on environmental, cities are responsible for 70% of global carbon emissions, buildings 40% of those, and so we said, hey, if we can really promote green REITs, we will hopefully be able to really positively contribute to the environmental sustainability. So that was sort of like how we came up with the ideas. Now, what did we do? Early on in, we recognized that we needed a lot of sector participation. We were very thankful that colleagues from JCAP and the World Bank Group were willing to support a journey, and we came up with a 4-step process, which many of you have been involved in. And so I think today a few people have mentioned my name on stage. I get a bit shy because actually it is really the experts in the room, the fund managers and the investment banking partners, the lawyers, the regulator has done a tremendous job of supporting this program. The exchange itself has done a great job. And so it really has been a very big collective effort. I think the experts group itself is something over 40 people, if I'm not mistaken. And these are from many of the leading law firms, leading investment banks, some of the fund managers also. And so we're very thankful. We are very, very thankful to the sector for its contributions and collaboration, because without that, it would not have been possible. So we started out in 2023. So a couple of years back, actually, not far away from here, we were at Kapinski. And that's when we started to socialize. And I think we had people like Peter Wayaki on the stage who will join us again today, sharing ideas and thoughts and just the beginnings of where we thought this product could go. And over the next couple of workshops 2 and 3, we managed to capture a lot of the learnings. We started building out the tools in the toolkit, and we started to also develop presentations and videos. So you don't necessarily have to be sitting with a tool if you want to understand how to register a REIT or bring a REIT to market. There's a number of videos that are on the REITs Association YouTube page that have really contributed. And then lastly, we're getting to today, where we are really talking about the program, and we are really looking forward now to the next phase, where we want to increase the level of investments into REITs. So I think Jeff had mentioned, but now there must be about 5 REITs, 4 or 5. I think there was another one registered, so 5 REITs now registered. Today you hear from another 4 that are registering within the next 6 months. And then there's another 8 or so that are being actively incubated. So now that is going from 2 to almost like 12 or 13, however many we may have by the end of next year. We can say that there's been a lot of momentum created over the last 2 years. So one of the great benefits that have emerged from this program is really like the socialization of REITs. I think, it went from something that was not as well known to a lot of people now talking about it. And when you see the volatility in treasuries, so last year we were all the way up to 16% 10-year treasuries. Now we're down to almost single digits. You're seeing a lot of volatility in other structured instruments. But REITs, they don't have that. It's constantly mark to market. It is yielding, often is inflation protecting a yield to a long-term investor like a pension fund or an insurance fund. And so for us, we believe that it's a tremendous product. And so that was one of the big, I would say, outcomes from this. It was more of almost like a marketing campaign for REITs, and somehow it seemed to have worked because now we've got a number of REITs in the market, or at least come into market. One of the early things that we had done is we tried to structure the journey because it wasn't clear what is the first step, what is the second step, what do you have to do, what are the tools and templates you have to figure out. You know, when people started, they thought, do we just quickly jump right into the regulatory documentation? Do we have to get the REIT manager license or not? Do we partner with the REIT manager? So we tried to break the process down into very logical steps. And each step is sort of increasing your engagement because if we talk about the registration and documentation costs being 100 million or 200 million or 50 million, depending on what, how you kind of pull your consultants teams together, you don't want to spend all of that in one go. So you want to sort of like take a toe dip, see if a REIT is good for you or not, and continue to increase the engagement in the journey. And so we developed this process, and then what we did is we mapped all of the deliverables that were required to the CMA application process and started building tools around there. Now, I cannot say that the toolkit is 100% the best in class right now because now we realize that it's taking time to really develop the set of tools. Also, to get a set of tools that is fully integrated is also difficult. Like, so if someone is to give up their tools as an issuer to say, hey, this is how we integrated everything together, that is very valuable, but we don't find often a lot of operators doing that. So we've been advocating for more and more tools and deepening of those tools. And so as you're seeing the toolkit now, it's kind of in its first generation, but we anticipate over time that we'll continue to deepen the tools. This program also dovetails into a broader program that is going to be happening this afternoon called the Capital Markets Transformation. And that is a new program that is sort of looking to grow the broader capital markets. So those same tools and these same experts we're looking to leverage with that program as well, because that is going to look beyond just REITs. It's going to look at some of the other products as well in the sector as well. So this program has had a great effect on the overall sector as well. One of the things that we're trying to design around also is now a training program that will be hosted annually around these different modules. So these are the tools, these are the different trainings that will happen around how do you structure or design your business plan for a REIT and your offering memorandum. What are the legal structures that are there? What are some of the compliance issues around ESG and governance? How do you engage with your trustee, which is a huge part of the REIT as well? How are you going to make your distributions? How are you going to structure your REITs? So basically, this training program is sort of the ongoing nature of the toolkit. This is what is going to help engage with the sector, help build capacity for the next generation of service providers maybe that are trying to come in, and at the same time, really build capacity of those REIT issuers who want to bring REITs to market. When we were designing the expert groups and how to bring sort of like people together, it was a bit unique because we wanted to crowd in about 30-40 experts from all parts of the sector to say, hey, we have to do this collectively. This is sort of a sector momentum building exercise. And we then allocated them within different sort of like working groups. We said the sector of real estate itself, the capital, the regulators, the capital markets. And so we were able to then organize the sector and partners and crowd in a number of them. And so you can see that in addition to the experts that come from a large number of institutions that are practitioners, we've got a lot of the colleagues and partners that are represented from an institutional standpoint. This program has been led by the REITs Association of Kenya, where the Secretariat has done a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't know where Anne Mwiga is, but a big shout out to Anne Mwiga. I think many of you interact with her. She's done a lot of very good work on this program. There she is right there. Big thanks to Anne. Amina and Eve as well have done a tremendous job of being able to activate projects, events like this. A big shout out also to NSC. We've had tremendous support from Jeff and Frank on these programs, and we're excited that the entire NSC leadership is around bringing more REITs to the market. And the Kenya Property Developers Association, we're the ones that bring now the supply of assets, right? So a REIT without with just money and without buildings is kind of an empty REIT. So we're kind of the partner on this program that helps to bring more assets to market. A big thanks and special recognition to the Capital Markets Authority. I think to me, they're like a lead partner on this program as well. They've been with us lockstep the entire journey, and they are very keen to see more REITs active in the market. Also very active partners of RBA. I see our colleague Leonard is here as well. Very thankful to their participation because a lot of this is backed by long-term institutional capital, largely pension capital. So we're very thankful to them. And then their partners also of APTAC, KEPFIC, ARBS, who have also participated in this program. These are the pension trustees and associations. Another anchor partner has been the Fund Managers Association. So, those of us who are launching REITs and want to get money into our REITs, well, those are the people we have to talk to. And we've been thankful that they've been along with us for the journey. A big thanks to Ewart Salins, who you'll hear from this morning as well, who's been the chair for the Alternatives Committee at the Fund Managers Association and been one of our key representatives on this program. Also, a big shout out and a thanks to CASIB. I don't know if Willie is here today, but CASIB and the investment banks have been also very instrumental. If you want to bring your REIT to market, you must have an investment bank. And the investment banks have really worked with us lockstep on this program, whether it be Dyer Blair, Castrell, I see Sterling, and all the other ones. I know ABSA has been involved in this program as well. I don't want to leave any names out, but I will say generally the investment banking fraternity has been extremely helpful in this program as well. Well, with that, I wanted to give a bit of a kind of a color what we've been up to over the last 2 years, what this program is about. The best way to continue to engage with the program is through the REITs Association and the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The REITs Association is managing the toolkit side, so they'll continue to have trainings, capacity building sessions, make available the toolkit to the practitioners. And so please do engage with the REITs Association on the toolkit side of things. The NSC in the BD department, I think Brian is around here somewhere, has been leading the work on incubation. He's done a tremendous job of bringing more REITs and getting more REITs ready for the market. And also, I will say, I don't know if Josephine is here from the NSC, there are a number of incentives that the NSC has been working on to help new REITs come to market. This is very helpful because of that, the high sticker price of bringing REITs to market. So having some donors that support this program, I think there's a donor support program with FSD Kenya right now and others. And so we're thankful for that and NSC's partnership. So with that, I'll say thank you all. I know that it's been a joint collective effort to bring this program to the market and really grow the number of REITs. That's been our primary objective. And so by the end of next year, we hope to see more than 10 REITs in the market. That's a big difference from the 2 when we started. And we're very excited to have walked this journey with everyone here. So thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. A warm round of applause for Mr. Zoravar Singh. Thank you.